Please rise and remove cover as the Central High School ROTC Color Guard presents our flags and we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. It's to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. How about a round of applause for our ROTC members? You may be seated. Good evening. I'm Boyd Brown, Superintendent of Schools for Laramie County School District Number 1. I would like to recognize our school board members who are in attendance tonight. So if you would rise and stand if you're on the school board, we would like to thank you for your service. We thank you for the job that you do, trying to set a good vision, a good mission, and keeping the boat running in the right direction. So thank you very much for all your help with Laramie County School District Number 1. Welcome to the Laramie County School District Number 1 State of the District Address. Thank you for coming to hear about our district. I must give credit to our wonderful staff for all the accomplishments. They are the ones who work with the students day in and day out and get the job done. So thank you for all your hard work. Tonight's address is being live broadcast and it will also be archived on the district's YouTube channel. The first topic I want to talk about is achievement. Wyoming State Assessment, which we call WYTOP, is the Wyoming test of proficiency and progress. This is the first year we've received data for it. Last year was the first year it was administered. We're preparing to administer it again this spring. Students in grades 3 through 10 are required to take the math and the language arts portion of the assessment. Students in grades 4, 8, and 10 also take an assessment for science. I'm very proud to live in Wyoming. One of the things that we've done, in my opinion, is we've not watered down our state assessment. Our state assessment is one of the most rigorous across the nation, and I'm very proud to do that. We will continue as a district to improve. We will align our curriculum and align our district assessments to help us improve on the state assessment. Again, it only tests in 3 subject areas. So one of the things that I'm proud of about Laramie County School District Number 1 is we provide well-rounded citizens to the rest of the district. We still offer art, the fine arts, career technical education courses, physical education, as well as trying to work with students on their affective and behavioral modes. One of the things that we know about our students is that they will adapt to the new assessment as well. The new assessment has multi-tiered questions that are written at a rigorous depth of knowledge. So our students can't just remember stuff and mark a bubble. They are required to write. They're required to do multi-step computation on math problems to get the correct answer. And they're learning to do that as our teachers are learning to improve as we go on the assessment as well. One of the ways that we can tell that we're doing well as a state is by the National Assessment of Educational Progress, called the NAEP assessment. Every state across the nation gives the NAEP assessment. I'm very proud to live in the only state that's not on the Atlantic coast that's in the top 10 in the nation on the NAEP assessment. The NAEP assessment is written at a high level, just like our state assessment. We would not perform as well as we do on the NAEP assessment if we didn't have a rigorous state assessment. Next, I want to talk a little bit about our achievement on the YTOP. The first thing I want to talk about is English language arts and our students, the percent of our students who scored at the proficient or advanced level. Setting the proficient advanced levels are based on a professional judgment panel. I think sometimes people think that that's a much more scientific method of saying this is the bar for this is the bar for advanced, this is a bar for proficient, this is a bar for below. But what happens is we have a group of stakeholders who are school staff, parents, and community members who go to a spot in the state and set those cut scores. Talking about the English language arts scores for the district in the state, the district is in green, the state is in gold. As you can see, the state outscores us by a little bit with the percent of proficient and advanced students in every grade level as we move across there. Grade levels where we transition in 7 and 9 are where the district is quite a bit farther below the state average. For those of you that are in the know, we are working on a plan to allow us to have more time in core content area as we move forward in the middle levels. Next, I want to talk a little bit about math. Again, it's set up the same way. District is in green, the state is in gold. As you can see, across the bottom we have 3 through 10, and the state outscores the district by a little bit more in the area of math. Again, the transition years, we have a larger gap, and at the elementary, we have a gap. We have just implemented a new elementary math program, and we think that we may be going through somewhat of an implementation dip, and we'll continue to plan and try to improve our math scores as we get that program implemented. And again, we're going to try to get some more time for our transition years to help try to improve on the math assessment. The math assessment is not like the math assessment that you and I took. When I took my math assessment in the elementary school and secondary school, my job was to figure out the right answer for a problem. These are multi-tiered, multi-stepped math problems where a student has to be able to read the problem, understand what that problem is asking, and move forward with it. I would encourage you, if you're interested in that, to go to the Wyoming Department of Education's website, go to the YTOP site, and see what some of the sample problems are. We've done this with our District Parent Advisory Council. We've also done some of that with our school board, and it's interesting to see the level of questions that are asked of our fifth and sixth grade students to solve. And I don't even want to look at the 10th grade problems because with a doctorate degree, I probably couldn't solve some of those. The other subject that's tested on the state assessment is science. It's in grades 4, 8, and 10. As you can see on the graph, it's set up in the same way, and we are fairly close to the state average. Our 4th grade is a little bit below, and again, we're trying to make sure that we are aligned at that level and before that level to make sure that students know what they need to know. Again, this is the first data that we've got. We'll continue, just like we did with the pause, to improve on a yearly basis and try to increase our scores on the state assessment. Next, I want to talk a little bit about state and federal accountability. I really appreciate what our state has done. This is a new assessment for us. That meant that the accountability, both at the state level and the federal level, changed a little bit. The federal level changed the act. It's the Every Student Succeeds Act now. And our state has tried to marry both the state and the Federal Accountability Act as closely as possible. And I appreciate that. Again, proficiency is set by a professional judgment panel that says, yeah, we think that this is where somebody that it should be. This is where you should be if you're at target. This is where you should be if you're exceeding target. The areas across the top for both the state and the federal are growth, which means how are students improving from one year to the next, or are they declining from one year to the next? And again, they're using the pause assessment as last year's proxy for this year's data to be examined against. Next year, we'll be able to use last year's YTOP and the YTOP assessment that we're giving as we come forward. The next area is equity. Equity is, are we improving all students and all subgroups as they move forward by grade level? The next one is the same thing we just talked about previously, is the achievement, and it is how many students or what percentage of students are at the proficient level or the advanced level. And then the last one is English language proficiency, and it's how well are our non-English speakers doing on becoming proficient. And so we're judged on that. Again, I would remind you that as we look at accountability, all of the scores for a school are aggregated. So the third and fourth in our K through 4 buildings, our third through sixth graders in a K through 6 building, just our fifth and sixth at Meadowlark. So whatever the number of students are, it's aggregated to get us this accountability. In the South Triad, we have quite a few schools who have met the target areas, a few schools where we exceed target areas, and the schools are focusing on improving anywhere we're below the target area. Next, the East Triad. Again, in the East Triad, we have quite a few schools who have met the target areas, a few schools who are exceeding target areas, and schools are focusing again on improving in areas where they did not meet targets. In the Central Triad, we have many schools who have met the target areas, quite a few schools who are exceeding the target areas, and schools are still focusing on the area where we're below the target areas and trying to improve. So as we move forward, we'll continually try to improve. Each one of our schools is required to put together a school improvement plan. They've done that with the input of their staff and tried to put together a plan that will help them improve as we move forward. They met with central office administration and talked about some of the areas that they felt they may need some assistance in and improving as well, and we're moving forward as we look at that. Next, I want to talk about the ACT assessment. All of our juniors across the state take the ACT assessment. The ACT assessment is a predictor for how well a student will do if they choose to go to college. We do have all of our students take it, and as you look at the scores that we've had over the past few years on the composite average, in 2016, we outscored the state by a little bit. In the last 2 years, we've had the exact same score as the state. One of the things about Laramie County School District number 1 that's different than most school districts across the state is we're the largest school district in the state by quite a bit. So you will, as we go, the state will go. So if our scores go up, we'll drive the state average scores up. If our scores go down, we will drive the state average down somewhat. Again, there are 2 other larger districts in the state, both Natrona and Campbell County, and if we have the same things happening in those counties as we do in our county, that accounts for almost 50% of the students across the state. So again, we feel like we're doing a pretty good job on the ACT. One of the things that the district does is allows students to come in and take the assessment on multiple occasions. The only occasion that counts is the one that we have to give them their junior year, but they have the ability to come in and take that assessment again so that they can increase their score on the assessment, which might allow them to get a higher scholarship or might allow them to get into the Hathaway Scholarship and move forward. The other thing that we're doing is working with the state on trying to have more opportunities for some of our students that are in career and technical education and working on a vocational goal, want to go out and go into the job force, maybe want to go into a certificate program, and getting some assessments that may help them in those areas, and helping with our students that are interested in going into the military. So we'll continue to work on that. The last topic I want to talk about in achievement is the graduation rate for Laramie County School District number 1. As you can see the graph on the screen, we have slightly increased our graduation rate over the last few years, and we're proud to do that. Again, this graduation rate is based on a 4-year cohort, which means if I start in 9th grade with a group of students, I'm expected to graduate with those students. This year, our graduation rate was 79.8%. We hope to continue to improve as we move forward, but we're very proud of the students who graduate from Laramie County School District number 1 in 5, 6, and 7 years. It's not easy for all kids to graduate. Some kids wind up homeless. Some kids wind up with an addiction, and we believe that it's very important for us to continue to have high standards for our students to graduate, yet try to give them the supports that they need to get that graduation diploma so that they can be successful part of the community or the nation wherever they go. So again, we don't want to make it easy for them to graduate, but we want to give them those supports, even if they don't graduate in 4 years, to get them to where they can have that graduation diploma so that they can continue on and do what they want in life. Next, I want to talk a little bit about enrollment. Enrollment's one of those things that you never can pin down, because I know that Mr. Brinkman is going to at least have one student come in and one student go out of his school within a week, and every other school district across the district is going to have students coming in and leaving on a continual basis. So you can't pin that down. So what we do is we have a census date across the state, and I'm going to give you that data. That census date is October 1st of each year. We provide that information to the state. In 2014-15, we had 13,761 students in Laramie County School District number 1. In 2015-16, we had 14,029 students. In 2016-17, we had 14,036 students. 2017-18, we had 14,071 students. And this current year on October 1st, we had 14,152 students. Again, we continue to grow at about 1% a year. Our data would show that we're going to continue to grow at about 1% a year. I think we continually have bubbles that go through. I don't know why in Laramie 1 we don't have people that have students at the right number of students across the district so that we don't have these bubbles. But there are times when we have to move teachers through elementary schools, add teachers at the secondary, or move them away. But we believe that in the next few years, we will continue to increase in student population. Oh, I didn't put the graph on. I apologize for that. So I'll give you a second to look at that. But as you can see, we've continually updated, and we'll continue to do that in the near future. It does have implications for us, and we're working on a most cost-effective remedies scenario with the school facilities department, which will give us some more information about their projections, about how we will grow, and whether we will need some new facilities to handle that growth. Next, I want to talk a little bit about safety. Safety is an area where we always have to continually improve. We want to get better and better at this. The better we are and more prepared we are, the less likely we will be to have an incident. But if we do have an incident, we will be prepared. The first thing I want to talk about is automobiles passing stop school buses with red flashing lights and the stop arm out. The graph is representative of over the year of how many motor vehicles pass a stopped school bus. This year's was 1,363, and I believe that number was in December. On average, our district has 10 motor vehicles per day pass a stopped school bus with its stop arm out and its red flashing lights. That's a huge safety concern to me. That means that it's not if, but it's when are we going to have a student hurt or die from somebody hitting them. I would like to give a big thank you to Senator Affie Ellis and Representative Landon Brown, who shepherded the bill through the legislature to get it passed this year to put some teeth in the stop arm as people go through that. I'd also like to thank our transportation director and the Cheyenne Police Department for their help with providing information, data, and going to committee meetings and testifying on behalf of the bill. Senator Ellis worked to make the bill constitutional by changing it from a criminal offense to a civil offense, which was ingenious on her part to help us get that moving forward. The bill will go into effect July 1, 2019, and I know that it will make our students much safer. We try to train our students to look both ways and make sure they're safe before they cross the road, but we need our motor vehicles to do the same and follow the laws and make sure they don't put our kids at risk. Next, I want to talk a little bit about Safe to Tell. I'm hoping that each and every one of you have been familiar with our See Something, Say Something campaign that we started this fall. Reported incidents have gone up over the last 3 years, as you can see on the slide. They've more than doubled this year, and we're not even through the year. We believe that it's very important for us to have communication in all manners to make sure that we have a safe environment for our students as they move forward. Safe to Tell is an anonymous tip line for students and parents to use to report incidents or issues that may be going on at school. If you have not or your student has not downloaded the app for Safe to Tell, I would encourage you to do that and have a conversation with them about how to use that. Now, that doesn't stop parents or students from reporting something to the school resource officer, the principal, or a teacher. We really appreciate it whenever they do that because we can ask questions, get more information, and be more prepared for an incident, or if we have to react, we have better information that way. But any way we can get the information, we want to try to have it to make our place safe. The highest number of reports are in the area of self-harm and suicidal ideology. We know or believe that we have saved some students' lives by having them call into the Safe to Tell line and getting them help before they could harm themselves. We do know that the number of incidents that are prank have increased as well, but we would much rather know about something and investigate it rather than not know something and something happen in our schools. So we're very glad to have Safe to Tell. We're very glad to have the relationship that we do with the Cheyenne Police Department and Laramie County Sheriff's Office to try to keep our schools safe. The next area I want to talk about is active shooter training. Again, I want to thank the Cheyenne Police Department and the Laramie County Sheriff's Office in partnering with us for this training. If we have an active shooter in a school, it will be very important for our staff to make decisions based on the situation. And the situations are very much different in different buildings. As you could imagine, in Central High School, where we're at right now, the decisions that teachers on this end of the building versus the other end of the building might be different if somebody was actively trying to harm people here. If you go to one of our smaller schools in an elementary school, it would be different at that school as well. So we want them to make good decisions, protecting themselves and their students as we move forward. We had time for our students at each one of the trainings to ask questions during 2 different parts of the training. After the training, we did ask our staff members to have age-appropriate conversations and discussions with the students they're responsible for. As you can imagine, dealing with a kindergarten class and the conversation that you would have with a kindergarten class is much different than the conversation you might have with a class of seniors. During the active shooter training, we had 42 classes. I think it might be 44 after we had the makeup classes the other day. 74 hours of training time, 18 hours of preparation time. We had 84 hours of follow-up to repair door locks, mechanisms, other issues that people brought to us during those trainings that they said, I just don't think this is working. Brought it to a heightened sense of awareness. We talked about piggybacking in. We talked about letting people in the doors. We talked about making sure you follow all the safety protocols that we currently have to make sure that we have a safe school for people. Excuse me. We gave out surveys after each one of them to try to help us improve the presentation. We had 638 written survey responses that tried to help us improve or thanked us for having the training for them. 915 rounds of blanks. Ammunition was shot in all the different buildings so that our staff members would be able to recognize that if it happened in their building. Again, we continue to attend state and national safety, school safety trainings, so we are updated with the most recent and best practice procedures, and we'll continue to do that as we move forward. I'd like to talk a little bit about facilities. The first one I want to talk about is Buffalo Ridge Elementary. Buffalo Ridge Elementary went through a $5.4 million renovation this last summer. We did not get it completed totally during the summer. We had a little construction that was happening through about November, but we had a wall set up and blocked off so it didn't interrupt any of the teaching and learning that was going on in the school. If you've not had an opportunity, I'd encourage you to stop by Buffalo Ridge Elementary and see what they've changed. One of the things that we changed was moving the office from the middle of the school to the end of the school so we could secure the building and follow our protocols where people had to buzz in, go through our Raptor service, and get into the school. So that was $5.4 million, and it really turned out nice for us. The next one I want to talk about is Cary Junior High. If you've driven on Pershing down by East High School, they have begun construction on that. That began a little bit later this fall than we wanted it to, but it's coming together nicely. Cary Junior High is about a $43 million total project with about $38 million in construction. That'll be a fabulous new facility when it's completed, and we'll hopefully open it in the fall of 2020. Some of you might ask, what are you going to use the old Cary for? And our plan is to use that in the short term as swing space. We believe that we have another renovation for one of our elementaries coming up, Dildine Elementary, that'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of $7.5 to $9 million. And while we're trying to do that, we can't get it done in the summer like we did Buffalo Ridge. So we'll move the Dildine students over to the Cary building, the old Cary building, and use it to house those students while we're doing the revamp of the old Dildine building. Another building that I can think of that we might have the opportunity to do that is both Johnson and McCormick Junior Highs. We've not had an opportunity to update either one of those facilities, and we would have the room to be able to put those students into Cary, and it might take more than a year to do the updates on the two junior highs. The next area I want to talk about with facilities is security. Again, we've put about $1.8 million in the last year into security for our buildings and trying to make them a safer place. We try to make concentric rings where people can't get in there. Again, we try to make sure that all of our staff members and students are aware of security protocols so we don't let people in whenever they're not supposed to be in. Bad folks don't get in there, and we'll continue to work on that. This next year, we're looking at about $1.5 million being spent to update buildings. Some of that will go into some new software that we're looking at to help keep our buildings safe, and some of it will be in areas of fencing and different areas around the district to make sure that not only are our students safe, but possibly the food or the buses that they get on are safe, so that people can't get in and tamper with them and cause harm to our students. With that, I'd like to conclude my presentation tonight. We do have 2 mics down at the front of the auditorium. If you have a question, I'd ask you to come up and ask your question. I'll do my best to answer it. If I have to do some research, I'll do that and get back to you. Is there anyone that would have a question? Is that in Ferris Bueller? Anyone? Anyone? I have good latency. Well, if there are no questions, I want to thank you for coming. And I want to thank you for supporting Laramie County School District Number 1. Have a great evening. I'll be around for a bit if you want to come up and ask a personal question. Thank you.